Hail and well met, brethren and sister-therin, and welcome to the Tingleverse. Did you notice that? I changed the name of the channel from the last video to this one. The name of this channel is now Enter the Tingleverse, because I thought that was appropriate, given all I do is read Chuck Tingle books. You'll also notice that it's been roughly 2 years since the last video that I uploaded, which is a damn shame. But what have I been up to in the last 2 years, you might ask? I'm joking. None of you asked that. Nobody cares. You're only here to listen to me read to you a Chuck Tingle book. But I will point out something. I won't spend too much time on it, I swear, but as you can see, we have updated the Tingleverse studios. I am now coming to you from a new location, one much less cramped than the last one. I am an official, I'm not a streamer. I'm an official YouTube video guy now. The way you can tell is I have rope lights, somewhat disheveled in some locations because I hung them myself and I am not a professional. I also have instruments for your viewing pleasure. I don't know how to play them. I collect them and put them on the wall so my Chuck Tingle, my loyal Chuck Tingle viewers have something to look at that's not... I'm joking. I did move, though, and the new Chuck Tingle Studios is quite an upgrade, I must say, over my previous Chuck Tingleverse Studios. I keep saying Chuck Tingle Studios as if I am Chuck Tingle. And while it is true that nobody has seen me and Chuck Tingle in the same room together, I am in fact not the good Dr. Chuck Tingle. And so we're here today. I would like to read a Tingler for you. I wanted to get one more in. The reason I came back, that's what I was getting at. So I know it's been 2 years, and I promise this won't take too long, and we'll get to the reading, but it's been about 2 years. I just wanted to get one more Tingler in before World War III started with Russia and the UK and the EU, the NATO people. You can tell how well-read I am on world events. I just wanted to get one more Tingler in before the world explodes. So here we are, and I thought it could not be more fitting than to read Pounded by the Pound, Turned Gay by the Socio-Economic Implications of Britain Leaving the European Union. As always, we will discuss the cover briefly. As you can see, I'm not going to do it. I don't do it in every video. Pounded by the Pound, Turned Gay by the Socio-Economic Implications of Britain Leaving the European Union. From Hugo-nominated author, Chuck Tingle. I open my eyes slowly, trying my best to regain my bearings. I'm in my bedroom, dull sunlight streaming through the cracks of the nearby blinds and flickering across my face. Everything around me is easily recognizable, yet for some reason, it all seems very different this morning. I take account of my surroundings and myself. My name is Alex Liverport, and I'm 25 years old. I'm in my rented flat in the heart of London, and I have a splitting headache. All of this is true, yet I still feel somehow disassociated from my own body. Plus, I'm hungover. I stand up and realize now that my clothes are still on, meaning that I must have simply fallen flat on the bed and passed out at some point during the previous evening. When I catch a glimpse of myself in the mirror, I see that my hair is disheveled and messy, my eyes red as they struggle to focus. I pull open the door of my bedroom and head out into the living quarters to see what's what, immediately finding my roommate, Chrissy Buttmore, sitting on the couch with her attention glued to the television. "What happened last night?" I ask her, rubbing my eyes. "My head is killing me." Chrissy's expression quickly changes. Oh, I'm sorry. I already fucked it up. "My head is killing me." Chrissy glances over, looking much less disheveled than me, but just as distressed. "It's all going to hell," my roommate informs me bluntly. "What is?" I question. Chrissy's expression quickly changes to one of confusion. "I think I blacked out," I admit. "I have no idea what's going on." My roommate's eyes go wide. You don't remember the vote? Britain has decided to leave the European Union. Brexit, remember?" Suddenly, it all comes flooding back. I remember watching at the local pub as the poll numbers came in, slowly but surely drowning out all hope that I had in a future as part of the EU. My spirits crushed, I took to drinking. Mood. Everything else is a blur, but at some point I vaguely recall running down the block to the river... I've never known how to pronounce this. The River Thames? I'm a world-renowned traveler. And throwing a bottle of wine into the water. "So we're leaving the Union?" I ask. "Yep," Chrissy confirms. I let out a long sigh, then look past my friend, out through the open window of our second-story apartment and onto the streets of London below. The usual folks are hustling and bustling about, continuing on their merry way as if nothing out of the ordinary had even happened. "Seems like everything's fine," I tell Chrissy. I'm not exactly sure what I expected after my night of alcohol-fueled depression and socio-political terror, but this isn't it. "The pound is losing value fast," Chrissy notifies me. "It's in freefall. The whole economy is bound to collapse." I hear the words that she's saying, and I completely understand that they should strike even more fear into my heart. But for some reason, they don't. Maybe all of the anger and frustration was purged from my system the night before, because right now, I don't really feel much of anything. "I'm gonna go for a walk," I tell my roommate, trying to make it sound like I've got some kind of emotional steam valve to let off, but really just not knowing what else to do with myself. Without another word, I turn around and grab my coat, heading down the stairs and out into the busy streets. I immediately take a left and head towards the river, to the same vague spot that I somehow ended up the night before. I can't help but notice how excruciatingly normal everything seems. Across the street... The color changed. That was interesting. Across the street, two handsome men are walking a dog together, while a kebab shop to my left serves up some hungry customers. I see buses, I see taxis, I see everything that I would expect to see despite these dire warnings of economic collapse. They're going to make me say it again, when I finally reach the edge of the River Thames, I find a nice quiet bench and take a seat, looking out across the deep blue water and to the seemingly endless gray sky above. While some people might find the dreariness of today unsettling, I find it deeply comforting. Yet another sign that some things just never change. Across the waves of the river, I can see Parliament, and I can't help but wonder what kind of heads are rolling over there right now. I'm sure there's some kind of political chaos underway, but I'm certain it will work itself out. Finally feeling connected to my own body once again, I lean back onto the bench and let out a long sigh, closing my eyes as sweet relief washes over my body. Suddenly, there was a deafeningly loud crackle of lightning in front of me, causing me to nearly fall out of my seat as I let out a cry of surprise. Floating some 2 or 3 feet above the sidewalk is a black and blue seam of electricity, a hovering slit in the fabric of space and time that pours outward with a sizzling heat. "Alex!" calls a voice from beyond the strange universal rift. I can barely make out the figure's shape, but it appears to be a massive, sentient coin. £1, to be precise. "Hello?" I question, shielding my eyes from the electrical storm that appears to be occurring right before me. "Who are you?" "There's no time," yells the giant coin from the other side of the rift. "Come with me." I'm utterly horrified, and, if I'm going to be honest, my first instinct is to immediately turn around and run away. It's only then that I notice something brilliant and burning through the hole in space-time. Within the rift, I can see the Parliament, or what used to be the Parliament, as the entire building roars with a towering flame. These colors are really coming in good. Yes. Suddenly. Oh, shit. "Is that what it looks like?" I call out. "Yes!" screams the giant sentient coin. "We need your help, Alex. I can't hold this open much longer." Suddenly, all of the fear leaves and is replaced with a powerful, frantic energy. Britain needs me. Without another thought, I jump up from the bench and run forward, diving through the trans-universal slice and ending up carried to the hellish landscape of fire and smoke on the other side. "Where am I?" I ask the mysterious Pound. "What's happening?" "You're in the future," explains the giant sentient monetary instrument. "But it's not safe here. Follow me." The Pound takes off floating along the edge of the river, which I now see is blood red and bubbling like the lava of a molten volcano. Many of the once familiar buildings are gone, while others still burn in behemoth pylons of flame. Strange creatures circle the sky in red uniforms, with large black hats dressed the Queen's Guard, but with leathery reptilian wings and extended, knife-like teeth. "How long has it been?" I ask the living Pound as we hustle along. 70 years? 80? "It's been a month," the sentient currency tells me. "A month?" I stammer. "But how did this happen?" Suddenly, bullets strike in rapid succession across the ground beside us, fired from above by one of the monstrous winged guardsmen. "This way!" the floating coin shouts, leading me past the wreckage of a toppled 4-story bus. The Pound sees me looking at the strange vehicle and offers a quick explanation. "To make up for lost revenue, we invested in 4-story buses instead of the traditional double-decker. They were too top-heavy and started tipping over everywhere. It was utter panic in the streets." "What about the guards?" I question. "The government couldn't afford to pay the Queen's Guard anymore, so we used these unfinished snake and bat hybrids that MI5 has been developing," explains the coin. "It was not a good idea." "I can see that," I tell him. Of course, what I'm most curious about is how the future managed to create a massive, living, breathing Pound. But I say nothing. Finally, the two of us find an abandoned pub to duck into, hidden from the strange, uniformed monsters who circle menacingly in the dark sky above. The coin slams the door behind us and locks it, then staggers over to the bar and grabs a bottle from behind the counter, pouring himself a drink. "Do you want some?" the living economic unit asks. I nod. "Sure thing." The coin pours 2 glasses and hands one to me, then takes a seat at the nearby table. I follow his lead, sitting in the chair across from him and taking a long sip from my glass. The pub is eerily quiet, utterly devoid of any patrons. "What's your name?" I finally question, breaking the silence. "Perber," offers the coin. "I already know yours, though." "How?" I continue. Perber pulls out a wine bottle from under the table and uncorks it, then lets a rolled-up letter fall out between us. He unfurls it and hands it over to me. "Look familiar?" the sentient Pound asks. It doesn't, but I don't say anything. I just take the page and read aloud. "Dear future Brits," I begin. "I'm so sorry. We really messed up. If anyone in the future finds this, please know that if I could go back and change the way things worked out, I would. Whoa, I'm so drunk right now. Oh well," I stop abruptly, finding my own name scribbled at the bottom. "Do you remember writing that and tossing it into the river?" asks Perber. I hesitate, and then finally decide to answer honestly. "I was pretty drunk." The coin looks a little concerned, but pushes that expression away as quickly as it arrives. He tries to change the subject. So I'm sure you're wondering how we all became giant floating coins, huh? The Pound asks me. Actually, yeah, I confess. Did you just say all? The Pound nods. As in, everyone became coins, not just you, I continue. The Pound lost so much value that we had to make up for it by becoming pounds ourselves, Perber explains. That doesn't really make any sense, I tell him. None of this makes any sense, the coin counters, but it's all we've got left. You're all we've got left. I take a long sip from my drink, finishing the whole thing in one gulp and then slamming the glass down on the table. What do you need me to do? I question. You need to go back to the past and warn them, explains Perber. We'll send you back months before the vote, and you can get the word out about the 4-story buses, and the winged monsters, and the living coins. They'll have no choice but to vote to stay in the European Union. I don't know if they're going to believe me, I inform the coin. Besides, if I go back and prevent the vote from happening, then I won't know to come back and prevent it in the first place. It's a loop. It just doesn't make any sense. Perber shakes from side to side because it's a coin. It can't shake its head. No, the living coin counters. It just creates a new timeline. This one will still exist, but at least you'll be saving the others. Still, I argue, nobody will believe me unless you come back with me. I see a twinkle in Perber's eye as he hears this. You think? I stand there in silence, just staring at Perber as I wait for him to explain himself. Oh, shit. I'm sorry, I skipped a line, and it got real confusing real fast. You'll see what I mean in a sec. Absolutely. I see a twinkle in Perber's eyes as he hears this. You think? Absolutely, I tell him, standing up from my chair with a renewed faith in our plan. All right, let's get started. How do we do this? Love, explains the coin. All you need is love. I stand there in silence, just staring at Perber as I wait for him to explain himself. We need to make love to each other, the coin continues. What? I blurt, in utter shock. The coin nods. Then how'd you come back and get me? I question. That was love as well, offers the living pound. The love of my country. Love is the most powerful force in any universe, capable of transcending space and time. Unfortunately, I've already used that particular patriotic form of love. Now we need to harness a different kind. None of this makes even the slightest bit of sense, but there is something about the way that this massive sentient pound carries himself that actually makes me kind of excited about the prospect of learning to love him. Could you learn to love me? There is no denying just how handsome he is, with that perfectly circular, ridged edge, and his flat golden surface that glints under the dim pub light. I've never experienced sexual feelings for another male before, but right now, there's no denying the way that my heartbeat quickens, the way that I yearn for this powerful, monetary unit's touch. I think you might be onto something, I finally offer, walking around the table and pressing myself up against the massive coin. I run my hands up and down his cool surface, taking note of every subtle edge and texture. My cock is quickly stiffening within my pants, growing harder and harder with every passing moment as I wallow in the presence of this beautiful currency. Suddenly, I just can't help myself any longer. I drop to my knees and take the coin's cock in my hand, a thick golden rod that has somehow emerged from Perber's front. Whoa, look at that, I gush, taking in the massive size of his monetary rod. I pump my hand up and down his length for a while, faster and faster as I go, until finally I open wide and swallow the entire thing into my mouth. I wrap my lips around his cock and then push down as far as I can go, retching slightly as I hit the edge of my gag reflex and then pulling back with a stutter. I try my best to collect myself, wiping the spit from my mouth as I give the coin a playful wink. Sorry about that. This is my first time, I tell him. I guess this socioeconomic disaster has had at least one upside. It's turned me gay. My second attempt at a deep throat goes much better than the first. This time, I'm somehow able to relax enough to allow the sentient pound's massive rod all the way down to the hilt, stopping only when my face presses up hard against his incredible set of chiseled, metallic abs. Perber lets out a long, satisfied moan, tilted back as the sound vibrates through his entire body. I love giving him pleasure, welcoming him into my body like he's welcomed me into this horrific timeline. I am here to guide him as he guides me, showing him the deepest, darkest parts of my soul, and bearing it all. When I finally run out of air, I pull back with an enormous gasp, aching to take things to the next level. I want you to fuck me, I tell the living coin. I want you to fuck me up my... I want you to fuck me up my tight gay ass, just like we've all fucked ourselves with this vote. Perber smiles. With pleasure. The coin helps lift me to my feet and then immediately spins me around with his powerful currency arms. He pushes me up to the bar and bends me over it roughly, tearing down my pants and underwear before aligning his massive dick with my tightly puckered rim of my exposed back door. Oh my God, I groan. Pound me, pound. Just do it. The massive sentient coin teases me for a bit longer, playfully exploring the tension of my anal rim, before finally pushing down inside of me in one long, powerful swoop. I let out a deep, drawn-out groan, my body struggling to adjust to the incredible size of his thick member. I almost went southern. My asshole is completely stretched to the brink, feeling as though it's about to break in half as the incredible pound behind me starts to slowly move his hips. He's allowing me to learn his cock. I'm sorry, I have to do this a different way, because as soon as I said that line, it made me immediately think of Sir David Attenborough. He's allowing me to learn his cock, giving their bodies time to connect as he slowly but surely pumps faster. That was probably very awful, but it's immediately I jumped to the planet Earth, so I had to do it. I'm sorry. Eventually, all of the discomfort that I once felt while taking his massive rod has slipped away, evolving into something else entirely. Soon every thump of the coin against my backside sends a shiver of pleasure up my spine, the tightness of my butthole feeling full, but not quite overwhelmed. Harder, I tell Perber, the words a little bit under my breath, and then once more with feeling. Harder! The living coin picks up his pace, moving even faster now as he slams against my backside in the ferocious haze of blinding lust. You like that? Perber demands to know. Oh my God! I scream. I love being pounded by my pound. My hands gripping tightly onto the bar in front of me, I begin to push back against him, thrusting backwards just as hard as he's pummeling up into my ass. My eyes roll back in my head and I reach down between my legs, grabbing a hold of my hanging cock and starting to beat myself off in time with his movements. Soon enough, I can feel myself approaching the edge of orgasm, but before I have a chance to make it there, the handsome coin pulls out of me and gives me a hard slap on my arse. Over here, the sentient currency commands. The coin lies down flat against the barred door, the only relief on his otherwise even surface, a massive tower dick that he coaxes me over to. I do as I'm told, approaching the handsome pound as I remove the rest of my clothing, tossing it to the side as I come to a stop over the enormous circular object. Carefully, I lower myself down into a squat, aligning my butthole with the pound's enormous cock, and then eventually impaling myself along its length. Even though I'm the one doing the moving here, I still let out a surprised yelp as Perber's shaft enters me, not entirely accustomed to his thick British banger. Now I'm riding him, swooping my body across the pound's flat surface in a series of firm movements of the hip. My cock bounces in front of me with every slam, hard but wild, as it twirls in the air like a helicopter. Our love transcends space and time, I cry out. Love is all you need. Love is all you need. Faster and faster I go, riding the living monetary instrument with everything I've got. It's not long before I feel a strange and unfamiliar sensation begin to boil up from somewhere deep inside me, simmering just below the surface as it begins to make its way through my veins. I feel as though I'm about to come harder than I ever have in my life, but not in the same old way that I've grown accustomed to. This is something different. Something much more anal. Oh my god, my fucking prostate, I moan, finally realizing what this bizarre sensation is. I'm gonna come! Keep hitting that prostate deep in this tight gay asshole. Harder and harder I bounce on the coin, losing myself in the overwhelming sensation until suddenly it's just too much to hold back any longer. I find myself blasting across the pound's shiny surface. Load after load ejects from the head of my shaft, spilling out onto Perber in a beautiful display of pearly white spunk that splatters this way and that. My teeth clenched tight, I hiss through the opening as my body struggles to understand all of this this sensation. I'm just now realizing that I'm going through this entire thing without any water, and it's starting to catch up to me. That was my bit. That wasn't in the book. Finally, the feelings pass, and I collapse back onto the floor behind me, sweaty and exhausted. The Queen immediately stands up and looms over my muscular body, spreading my legs open and positioning himself before me. I love you, Perper admits, tears of joy in his eyes, and I want to come inside of you. Please, I tell him, a wry smile on my face as I reach down and spread my asshole open. Perber wastes no time, slipping inside and getting to work, picking up right where he left off with a powerful pounding. He hammers away at me with staggering enthusiasm, and then suddenly pushes down as deep as he can go, holding in place, while letting out a rumbling groan of pleasure. I can feel his warm coin spunk spill out into my arse, filling me up to the brim, and then spilling out from the edges of my tightly plugged butthole. When the sentient pound finally finishes, he removes himself from me, letting a torrent of jizz come tumbling after. It runs down the crack of my ass and onto the pub floor, pooling out around us in a beautiful mess. The pool doesn't stop growing, however, seeping out across the floor below in an ever-expanding puddle of jizz that soon begins to crackle and snap with sizzling electrical energy. It's happening, Perber shouts excitedly. Our love is real. Of course it is, I tell him with a wide smile, throwing my arms around the coin and pulling him close. No matter what happens, I'll always love you. Suddenly, the air of the room changes completely, the creeping silence and dread, replaced by the warm din of a humming tavern. I looked up to see that we are surrounded by men and women in the heat of conversation. But the second they see me and my coin lover, everyone stops to stare. The music that had once been filling the air comes screeching to an abrupt halt. What in the fuck? Someone finally says, breaking the silence. Listen to me, I tell the crowd, springing into action. My friend and I have come from the future to warn you about the upcoming vote to leave the European Union. The what? Comes the same drunken voice. The European Union, I repeat. Brexit.
Who the fuck cares?
says another man.
We need to stop them mainlanders from coming into our country anyway.
I shake my head, trying to reason with them. You don't understand. It's all going to fall apart. It's complete chaos. We need to stay. Don't let your hatred blind you.
Hey, fuck off,
Another voice shouts.
Yeah, get out of here with that nonsense.
Someone else chimes in.
I don't want any damn foreigners coming in here and mocking up stuff for real Brits.
More and more angry patrons add their voice to the ruckus, silencing my plea for peace and acceptance. Suddenly, a loud whistle cuts through the chaos. Once more, the bar falls into silence as Perber steps forward to address the drunken mob. All you need is love, the coin suddenly sings out. Silence. All you need is love, the handsome coin repeats. More silence. Perber hesitates, then changes his approach ever so slightly. All you need is butts, he says once more. Suddenly I see tonight's pub crawlers take notice, the men and women perking up slightly as those words resonate just the tiniest bit more.
All you need is butts.
One of the drunks yells back in refrain. Suddenly the whole pub is singing loud as long as they can, belting out the words like their life depended on it.
All you need is butts.
After another rousing chorus, Perber climbs up onto one of the tables and addresses the gathering. We're a fantastic country with a rich heritage, announces the Living Pound, but being a part of the European Union doesn't take away from what makes us Brits. In fact, the EU just means that there are even more butts to go around. Yeah, replies the crowd enthusiastically. German butts, French butts, Spanish butts. I can't. I'm running out of steam. German butts, French butts, and Spanish butts. Perber cries out. There's no end to the variety when you open your heart's butt to your neighbors. So when it comes time to vote, let's keep our asses wide open. The entire club explodes in a cheer of excitement as a warm smile slowly begins to creep out across my face. Perber climbs down off the table and then walks back over to me, the crowd now caught up in excited conversations of their own. The coin takes me in his arms and kisses me deeply. When we pull away, I can't help asking him what all of this means for the future. I have no idea, the handsome Pound admits, but it's a good start. All you need is butts, I question. Love is the real answer, Perber explains. You know it, I know it. Sometimes it takes butts to get people's attention, though. I have faith that they'll look even deeper and understand the real meaning. You're sure about that, I question? There's only one way to find out, the sentient coin says with a laugh. That's it. It's done. That's such a sweet story. And I can reasonably say, as a world traveler myself, who has not hardly left my home state, aside from a few trips to Vegas here and there, I have no opinion on the European Union, and I'm not going to turn this into a political video about Brexit, because I don't care. I live in the USA. Yeah, that was fun. Thanks for coming back and enjoying this with us. I wanted to read, because I'm recording this in November of 2024, so I was going to make it super relevant and totally time specific, and he's got some good Dr. Chuck Tingle has written books such as President Donald Loch Ness Trump Pounds America's Butt. I was going to do something along those lines just to be super relevant for the United States, but I didn't have a copy of that book, and I have a bunch of ones that I already own that I didn't want to spend more money on. Or I didn't want to spend more money on ones I didn't already own that I haven't read yet. It's good to be back. I'm going to try to not spend 2 years between this one and the next recording, but we'll see. And now, for the moment you've all been waiting for. My life updates. Let's see, the last 2 years have been pretty significant. I'm kidding, I'm not going to go into this. Nobody gives a shit. All right, come on back for the next episode. And we'll see. So looking back at the last few, at almost all of them, I had a horrible beard, which is gone now. And I also weighed probably 15 pounds less than I am now. So we'll see on the next video if I get my life back in order and keep the beard under wraps. So maybe I can hit the gym a little bit, get a little bit more of this chin back. We'll see. We'll see. I'll see you guys on the next episode of the Tingleverse.